My mother was real cheap. Okay, practical. She would never pay a bill on time. If they ain't cutting it off, I ain't paying, she would say. The first bill is just a suggestion. If they really want you to pay it, they'll come tap on your window. Her whole philosophy of life was if you die owing money, then you won. Please raise your hand if you think it's Richard Pryor. Raise your hand if you think it's Eddie Murphy. Raise your hand if you think it's Chris Rock.
It's from everybody Chris.
Okay. Nice. Oh wow, that's nice because they. That you know something about interesting hip hop culture today contextualizes. They use old music from the 60s and 70s, this liberation theology music talking about rebel, and they weave it into current hip hop music. So in the same way, a comedian, a new comedy, television comedy show, Everybody Hates Chris, is keeping Chris Rock alive for young people, for your generation. And they just did a new documentary on Richard Pryor, but maybe that's more for my generation, I guess, than you guys' generation. I don't know what's going to keep Richard Pryor alive. Anyway, what do you think? Does anybody have an idea what Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, and Eddie Murphy might have in common with Zora Neale Hurston and Lester? They all cussed a lot, but what do they have in common? Yeah, that's true. Even Julius Lester cussed a lot. And even Zora Neale Hurston in some of her pieces, not so much cussing Zora Neale Hurston. Yes?
Yeah, manipulated America in a funny way.
Okay, they manipulated America in a funny way. Interesting. What do you mean by that?
I mean, they manipulated America in a funny way.
So I understand that they used humor, and they were making humorous, ironic statements about real events, like your lights getting cut off, right? Maybe none of us in this room have ever had our lights cut off, but maybe we know somebody whose lights have been cut off, right? But it's something that is every day that you hear about. People's lights get cut off from time to time. And the idea that you're expecting for the light man to come knock on your window to tell you to pay your bill is kind of ironic. And he's trying to say, but what's he really trying to get us to think about?
Yeah, what was the
Some about if you not pay your rent and you die.
Okay, he said the first bill is just a suggestion. If they really want you to pay your bill, they'll come tapping on your window. Her whole philosophy in life was if you die owing money, then you've won.
Oh, they're basically saying
that you beat the system because you'll never pay them back. Oh, but now they don't go to your family.
Okay, so who's he talking to? Who's his audience?
the black people.
Okay, and what does he want? Okay, everybody who's poor, who doesn't always pay their bills on time. So what is he trying to get people to think about? Maybe to pay your bills on time, to think about how you spend your money. How, is it important to keep the lights on? Is it important to have constant electricity? What are some of the... Do you see that connection? That's a leap, huh? Do you see the connection? No? Between what he said and the assumption underneath what he said?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so he's saying one thing, but he's not directly meaning that one thing that he's saying. He's leaving room for other meanings.
Right.
Okay. So we said these comedians preserve black oral tradition and storytelling. They use dialect. They honor the way that we speak by incorporating it in their international comedy presentations. So everybody around the world knows how black Americans do their thing, right? They know how we do our music, our style, the way we talk. All around the world, whether I've been in Japan, China, Ghana, Morocco, I see people with their backwards hats, their saggy pants, their bebop-like shoes. But it's absolutely not, right? But it is represented, and people, why do you think people in villages all over the country were celebrating Barack Obama's presidency?
First black president.
They was moving up in the world.
Oh, who was moving up in the world?
Poverty and stuff like that. Poverty got taken care of and stuff like that.
So it looked like a representative of the little man, one of the people who represent somebody who didn't have a fair shake in life was at the top of the world now. And they felt like that would possibly give them a chance to break out of their existence of poverty and that cycle that there is not hope to change your position from.
When Barack Obama came president, you could throw money on EBT card.
Right? I mean, there was just the hope. And I think in a large way, African Americans don't realize the hope that they represent to the whole world. No. That if we can make it in this country, anybody in the world can make it. If in this society where they say that wide lips are worse than thin lips, that wide noses are worse than thin noses, that kinky hair is worse than straight hair, and they hardly hire people, and they are always stereotyping that black people are scary or bad or something like that. And if we can continue to live and have children for generation and generation in this society, thrive, succeed, that somehow there's hope for every abused person in the world to make a change in their life. Oh, sorry, yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, no. Okay, I want to ask you about Stagger Lee. Did you like Stagger Lee? Was it entertaining? Was it educational? Was it informational?
It was beautiful.
Wait, you want us to answer first?
Oh, okay.
It was tight.
Did you like it? I want you to. Well.
What's the rest of the story?
It was a great story.
Yes.
It was a nice story, but I don't like how they changed heaven and got around.
Oh, I got it.
So you felt offended by the fact that all the black people were in hell, and that his only place. And what else? They had the Lord smoking a cigar, rolling dice on the corner of heaven, right? Hanging out with St. Peter. Okay.
It was tight. It's like, you know how like all the stuff black people ain't doing is damn near sin, right? So like in that sense, everyone would go to hell. Feel me? So
Would.
Interesting point. Okay.
And I thought it crazy because like when he got to heaven and he said that he heard all like the little hymn and like the quiet music, and St. Peter was like, we have to send those black people to hell because they like changing all the music and stuff. And I go to a Baptist church and like we get loud, so I'm like, does that mean we're going to hell?
Absolutely not. That is a really good point. Now, do you guys think that this man, Lester, Julius Lester, who believes, obviously he honors the Black Panther Party, obviously he honors the history of black folklore, do you believe that he thinks all black people are going to hell?
No.
Okay, do you believe that...
Because when you got
I
there,
think
he
he's
was
saying
saying
that
we're all
everyone
black
has a
people.
different heaven because they were playing hymns and black people don't like music with hymns in it.
Okay, I like what Renee said. Renee, could you say that one more time? Okay. Renee said... No. Renee said she thinks that Julius Lester believes that all white people... That all white people think that all black people may. Do you think that Julius Lester believes that all white people think all black people are going to jail, going to hell? From going off of what his story said. So,
Probably what he experienced. Ain't that usually what writers write about?
their experience, yeah, they glorify often their experience. Dylan, what do you think was the meaning of him having Stagger Lee say, heaven sucks, it's dry, I'm going to hell? Why did he do that? Why would the author write a story where hell is good and heaven is bad?
Because everybody look at things differently, so his heaven was probably different from everybody else's.
Excellent. He was switching the game. Julius Lester was saying, if you say black is bad and we're devils and we come from African heathens and we're trying to eat people, and then shoot, I'm the most powerful of all the evil people. I'm the king of hell, right? You know, I mean, so he's saying there can't be anything bad about hell if it has something to do with me. It must be the best place in the world where we have barbecue every day, we roll dice. Do you understand what I'm saying? He is saying your paradigm is flawed. Your whole system is wrong. And the way I'm going to show you your system is wrong is
They had an air conditioner.
The only people that get treated like
How is that possible?
this is crazy. All the Asians can come here, all the Migos can come here, but the niggas can't come here.
What?
okay, you know
No, she said it with an L.
okay, let's finish this conversation. Okay. I just want to make it clear that, and the reason I asked Dylan to explain it, I wanted to get his perspective, is because when he wrote his African Griot project, he did something very similar.
He asked them, do you mind sharing?
Do you mind me sharing about your story? Okay. His story dealt with perspective. Not only did he first originally start telling a story about himself, and someone else in our class did this too. Kelton did the same thing. He turned his story later, but he did a very similar thing. He started by telling his story, and his story, it was almost like a creation story. His story led into another story. His story was about himself and growing up as a little boy. And he said then one of the stories that formed him, and then he went into this elaborate story. Remember what I did with the example with the $100 bill? I spit on it, I rolled it up, I threw it on the ground. I said, do you still want it? And I said, with that $100 bill is just like you. You have inherent value despite what happens to you in life. You go to jail, you get raped, this and this and that. I'm just saying, if these things happen to you, it does not take away from your inherent value as a human being. People still want you. You are still useful. You are still, and that was the lesson. That was the story that impacted, right? The story that Dylan told, right? So he told the story, and within the story, there was an old man who told another story. And then he came out of the story. So again, the idea is the context, that your perspective, how you're looking at something, is going to change the way you understand it. So even though we're looking at something that says that the devil, that Stagger Lee is the ruler of hell, it's actually saying that this man found a place. One, he rejects the Western perspective that hell is bad. He says hell is good. And he defeated everything natural and supernatural. He defeated every living sheriff, what's that?
At death.
He didn't defeat God.
He defeated death. No, he didn't defeat God. So he shows,
The only supernatural thing.
yeah, he defeated death. He defeated the devil. He defeated, he even kind of tricked St. Peter, right? St. Peter's the one he told, look, heaven doesn't have anything on, anything I want. Heaven is hell. Your heaven, what you call heaven. Because what is a word but a label? You call something heaven, but what does that mean, right? Okay, so he said that the paradigm of saying that Western heaven is hell, and at that point, he gains his complete power, his ability to be the ruler of his environment. That's when he goes to hell, and he, as we learned in the hero's journey, he takes the sword like Luke Skywalker, like Matrix. All of a sudden, he breaks through that agent, Mr. Smith. He has the devil's sword, and he sits down in his seat of power, owning everything around him and controlling. And he gets celebrated. Everybody's, hey, man, how's it going? Where you been? Blah, blah, blah. Right? As he comes in, the black community celebrates his new transformation. He is no longer under the authority of what was happening in heaven, what was happening on earth. Now he is in control of his own domain.